Hello everyone and welcome back to the Common Sense Crypto channel. As with you always, this is Rich doing another video today on XRP. So I hope you're all having a wonderful day today wherever you are in this great world. We're gonna talk about XRP. And I gotta start with this from the blog. Ripple's Stuart Alderati says, crypto doesn't need a Dodd-Frank moment as lawmakers work to draft rules for digital assets. In other words, what he's saying is don't take rules from the past and try to make them relevant today. And don't fast track this. The one thing I always worried about, and again, he addresses this as well, is make it future-proof so that the next administration cannot come in and undo everything that this administration is doing. Because right now we have a pro-crypto administration. The next administration might be anti-crypto. We don't want another crypto crackdown in this space. But again, I'm hoping they get something passed by the end of this year. XRP could be worth $197 if Bitcoin gets 10 times bigger than gold. I absolutely hate these articles. The reason I show you them is because of how ridiculous they actually are. They make it seem like XRP's run is determined by what happens with Bitcoin. Eventually, XRP is going to decouple from Bitcoin. And it's eventually going to take the #1 spot away from Bitcoin. It was built to be a better Bitcoin. But they always try to make it seem like XRP is only going to perform good if Bitcoin performs good. And I hate the idea of that. That is not factual in any way. And this comes from West Wind. Fake, fake, fake. Scammers trying to steal your funds. Only in-app support can be trusted. Open your Zomin app, open your Zomin support, and be safe. Again, there are scams everywhere. We are so close now. You got to keep your crypto safe. Don't fall for anything that seems too good to be true. And get your crypto off the exchanges. You don't buy your groceries at the grocery store and leave them behind. Don't buy your crypto on an exchange and then leave it there. Insight, your robot vacuum and other smart home devices can easily be hacked to record you typing in passwords or your seed phrase. So now they're saying that the robot vacuum can suck up and steal all of your Bitcoin. But, you know, everything seems to be a threat all of a sudden. And they even cite Stephen King's Maximum Overdrive. But I look at it like this. As long as you're not falling for anything that seems too good to be true, and as long as you store your crypto on a hardware wallet like Decent or Ledger, you're going to be absolutely fine. You know, the biggest problems in crypto always come from people copy and pasting wallet addresses or clicking on things that seem too good to be true, like those AI videos of Brad and Monica and David offering to give you an XRP airdrop. There's no XRP airdrop. Or you end up interacting with the bots, talking to them in the comment section, and then they go on to steal your crypto. Keep your crypto safe. By now you realize anything that seems too good to be true is too good to be true. David breaks down why smart escrows, light programmability, built natively into the XRP ledger could be the next big thing. Take a listen to this.
You know, the XRP ledger was purpose-built to solve specific financial use cases with the DEX, issued assets, escrows, forthcoming loans. I think we'll be able to address the major financial use cases through native transactors that, you know, implement the functionality that people need, like loans will be able to be done that way. But I think that you can only target something like like the most valuable, most important sort of 80% of those use cases, which is great. You could be very successful just targeting the most interesting 80%. But I'm hoping that with smart transactors, we can sort of expand to get to use cases that we can almost hit, that we just need a little bit more flexibility to hit. I think also there's some very specific use cases that can probably only be done through a little bit of a smart contract. So one example would be trustless bridging or trust minimized bridging. All of the great bridging solutions and interoperability solutions that we're seeing require just a little bit more flexibility than we can get from from smart transactors that don't have programmability. So I'm hoping that with just a little bit of programmability, we can just get a lot of bang for the buck. And I don't want to turn the XRP ledger into another, Turing-complete Ethereum clone. But I also don't want us to be cut out from functionality that we could have. And so I think we can get a lot of interesting additional use cases that have real-world value and still preserve things like, fast transactions, low and predictable transaction fees, and the security and reliability of not doing everything through a smart contract.
What he's saying is they don't want to load up the XRP ledger with bloatware, and they don't want another Ethereum clone. But with light programmability, they could achieve even more utility for XRP. And I like the idea of that. And they definitely don't want to slow down transactions in any way. Circle is considering reversible USDC stablecoin transactions. So in other words, if, say, it's being used for illicit activity, they could reverse the stablecoin transaction, almost like what Ripple has with the clawback feature for RLUSD. But this is something that they want to have in place, because without it, you're not going to get that mainstream adoption. You're not going to get that institutional adoption. I even think when Ripple created the clawback feature, that was something that the banks most likely wanted, that Ripple's working with. It looks like Circle is going in this direction as well. 9 European banks launch Euro stablecoin consortium that challenge dollar dominance. Like I said in a video a few days ago, Christine Lagarde is calling for a level playing field in Europe. And I think how she's going to achieve that is through RippleNet and XRP, because that would give Europe a level playing field for sure. But what's going on right now is these 9 major European banks, they're launching one stablecoin that they could utilize in between those banks. And I think that's a good idea. It falls under MiCA as well. But at the end of the day, this stablecoin is still going to need a bridge. XRP is the bridge currency. In a video yesterday, I mentioned this. Trump announced an AI verification system at the United Nations. If you missed that video, take a listen to this.
I'm announcing today that my administration will lead an international effort to enforce biological weapons convention, which is going to be meeting with the top leaders of the world by pioneering an AI verification system that everyone can trust. Hopefully the UN can play a constructive role, and it will also be one of the early projects under AI. Let's see how good it is, because a lot of people are saying it could be one of the great things ever, but it also can be dangerous, but it could be put to tremendous use and tremendous good, and this would be an example of that. I'm announcing.
And this is the beginning of a digital ID system, because everybody would need a digital ID so the AI can verify who you say you are. But if you want to avoid a digital ID, Whitney Webb said, if people do not comply with digital ID, it will fail. Take a listen to this.
These people have invested so much money on finding every excuse they can to try and get us, in the case of digital ID, get us to voluntarily want to adopt it. And we have to focus on the fact that if digital ID does not succeed and people do not comply, it will fail. I mean, it is the cornerstone of like the entire UN Agenda 2030. Without it, the programmable surveillable money won't work. A lot of their designs for what they want to do in the online virtual world will not work. And so much of it will not work if we do not comply with digital ID, and they're trying to force it on us as a voluntary thing, sort of in the same way that vaccine passports were voluntary. Which is why I encourage people, if you want to change the direction the world is going, you need to figure out how you are going to set up your life so you don't have to comply with digital ID the same way. Maybe if you were forced to comply with vaccine mandates and vaccine passports, how will you get around those type of restrictions when they try and impose, digital ID on people for various reasons?
And they are going to try to push everyone into a digital ID. Now, she said if people do not comply, it will fail. The problem is that we are now at that time where AI is starting to pick up a lot of momentum, and universal basic income is talked about a lot. So in order to get that universal basic income, most likely you're going to need to also have a digital ID. So people will sign up for it just to get the free money. And that's why digital ID will most likely succeed in the future. But if you already have money, you could opt out of this system. If you're holding crypto, maybe you're transacting on crypto rails instead of the UBI rails or the central bank digital currency rails. You see why it's so important. We had vision years ago to get into XRP. Have a vision to see where the world is going and see how XRP can possibly keep you away from this vision that they have, like a UN Agenda 2030. That is still in full effect. They are still pushing towards that. Other countries are pushing full steam ahead into it. But maybe through crypto, you could break yourself free from it. The call for mandatory digital ID cards is gaining traction. This comes from Smoke, and we see that. It's going full-blown mainstream over in the UK right now, and other countries as well. They're pushing for this. And what they're telling you is that if you don't have this digital ID, you will no longer be able to access the internet. You won't get free education. You won't be able to take advantage of other options that the government is handing out. And that's how they will get people to sign up for it. But UBI is going to be the biggest selling point because people are already calling for universal basic income. And the guy creating the robots, Elon Musk, is giving you a sales pitch with universal high income. That the income is going to be based on your work history. It's going to be based on your education. Some people will most likely get universal high income, but for the most part, people are going to end up on basic income. And people that don't want to go to work at all or don't even have a work history, they're most likely going to get bare minimum. And that's the part that they don't tell you. That will come later when it's already too late, when you already allowed them to pass things like digital ID. Because we also have DNA coming to the XRP ledger. That's part of this system as well. Onboarding everyone's DNA to the XRP ledger. Take notice where they rolled that out. They rolled it out in countries like a testing ground. So they quickly went to Africa to start with onboarding of DNA. Why didn't they start it in the United States? Because most people would not comply. Why didn't they start it out in the UK? Again, most people would not comply. So they started out in a country where people need some sort of incentive, where a little bit of money can get people to put their DNA on chain. And then later, they'll start expanding out to other countries as they're bringing in more and more money, so they can offer bigger and bigger incentives. Senator Elizabeth Warren calls for investigation into Trump aides. So she's also talking about Trump making money off of all these coins, like Trump coin and so on. Where was Elizabeth Warren while Nancy Pelosi was getting absolutely wealthy off of insider trading with the stock market? You know why she's jumping on board with this? because it also goes down the lines of the crypto crackdown. This lady absolutely hates crypto. Soon, her hate for crypto is going to get her pushed out of office. And somebody that is pro-crypto will end up taking her place. I don't know who she's fighting for at this point. Herself or the big banks. It's definitely not the people that she was elected to represent. Because crypto is not slowing down. None of this is going to slow down. In fact, it's going to continue to accelerate because we are pushing into the digital age. The fourth industrial revolution is here. The fifth industrial revolution is here as well. Nothing is going to stop that from happening. It's way too far along. Wait until they start embedding stablecoins into the economy. I'm talking at scale. Once that happens, it's game over. You will never get them out of this system once they get embedded in. It's not like you could just go in and say, okay, we're just going to remove stablecoins now. It's already too late. Once they start gaining mainstream attention, and all of a sudden every single retailer is accepting stablecoins. You could sell your XRP, a little bit of it, into RLUSD, hold that RLUSD, and then go and shop with it. And at the same time, you'll be earning yield off of that RLUSD as well. So if you're holding a lot of it, maybe your everyday spending, you end up getting back in the end through yield. There's so many options opening up. We're so early still, but you could already see that Agenda 2030 is still intact. And other countries, it hasn't slowed down at all. The only pivot here in the United States so far is we're not going to have a central bank digital currency. Instead, we're going to have a stable coin. They're one and the same. People don't realize that. All they have is a different issuer. But at the end of all of this, as XRP holders, we get rich. And until it happens, stay patient, stay positive, and let's get rich together. With that said, I'm going to wrap up this video. I want to thank you all for watching. I appreciate all of you. I'll see you in the next one. Have a great night.